in Death Valley. They call it Death Valley for a reason.
Now, Clemson, one of 5 teams in the country averaging over 200 yards per game rushing, 200 yards a game passing. James Davis, Calvin Johnson, ACC Player of the Year candidates. Going to be a great night in Death Valley, Chris.
Reese, thank you from Death Valley, California. This rock was brought here about 40 years ago, presented to Frank Howard. It is the cornerstone, no pun intended, of their very dramatic entrance as the Tigers come through the gates and run down that hill after touching Howard's Rock. Maybe a break with tradition tonight. For the first time ever, they may come out in all purple. This is the biggest home game here since '88 when Florida State came in here. The game ended in a punt-rooski win for the Seminoles, but no FSU, no Miami, no Virginia Tech, and still a monster game in the ACC. Can Georgia Tech come in here and conquer this? They've done it before. Auburn and Miami last year. Virginia Tech this year. They have the ingredients. They have a patient ball control offense. They have a stout defense. It takes things like that to conquer all of this.
And first of all, if I was coaching Georgia Tech, I'd come out smoking. I'd even try to fake punch, go for 4th down, do anything you can. Get ahead 14-0 because this crowd is going to come back and beat you if you don't. Georgia Tech better score early or these guys will go, "Hurr."
Well, I think the big thing here is going to be for Clemson and taking advantage of this crowd starting fast, as Lee said, an offensive balance. The guys just talked about it in the studio. James Davis running has gone very well for them in recent weeks. John Tenuta, the defensive coordinator from Georgia Tech, will take that away in every form. It means Will Proctor's going to have to throw the football well and have more balance. He's going to have to throw more than he's had to all year without Stuckey and without Taylor. That's a challenge.
Tech will be aggressive, take their deep shots early if the recent pass any indication, but is Reggie Ball going to overthrow Calvin Johnson, or will they give him a chance to make a play? What's your pick in this game?
Well, I think that's the other key here is how Reggie Ball handles this environment, how he handles the pressure. Vic Koenig, a pretty good defensive coordinator in his own right, and I think Clemson's defense and this crowd and the running of James Davis along with Will Proctor's consistency, it's going to be a great night for the Orange. I think Clemson beats Georgia Tech.
Boy, I love Georgia Tech. I love the uniforms. I love Atlanta. But tonight, Clemson wins this ball game, and I'm going with the Tigers.
I got the Pauls again.
We got props here.
All right, Clemson.
It is homecoming. It is very festive here, and although the fans are all dressed in orange, we'll have to see what the Tigers themselves come out dressed in. They'll make their trip in a bus right outside the gate, just to our left here, rub the rock, and then run down there. Oh, look at this togetherness here on
this
homecoming.
is good stuff, huh?
Isn't this good? Well, Boston College did its part this afternoon. Clemson must answer in the division in this matchup of division leaders. That's the story here from the end zone. Let's go upstairs to Mike Patrick for tonight's game. Mike.
Chris, thank you very much. So Lee Corso already has a crowd of 83,000 fired up after his pick in what easily qualifies as the ACC Game of the Year. We're in Death Valley at Clemson Memorial Stadium in a game that matches the ACC's divisional leaders. It's Georgia Tech on a 5-game win streak. The Yellow Jackets ranked 13th against a number 12 Clemson Tigers at 6-1. Legendary coach Frank Howard started this tradition in Death Valley, South Carolina, after receiving the gift of a rock from California's more famous Death Valley. He told his players to rub the rock if they were willing to give 110%. Otherwise, he said, keep your filthy hands off my rock. Good evening, everybody. Mike Patrick, Todd Blackledge. It's great to have you with us. Holly Rowe will join us shortly. Georgia Tech lost its opener against Notre Dame. They have been undefeated since then, and they come in here with arguably the best player in all of college football. That's Calvin Johnson.
Yeah, I'm really excited to watch him play because Calvin is a rare, unique blend of talent. First of all, he's huge. I mean, he's 6'5", nearly 240 pounds, has great strength, is even stronger this year than he was a year ago. He's got a 45-inch vertical leap, so he can jump up and catch the ball over just about everybody. And then on top of that, he has outstanding speed. He's a long strider, but it's very hard to catch when he's in the open field. The last 3 games, he's been on a tear. 22 catches, 5 touchdowns. And probably the greatest testament of Calvin Johnson is that his very presence changes the game. Everybody plays defense different against Georgia Tech because of Calvin.
Clemson, of course, very explosive in their own right. They're averaging almost 44 points a game. That leads the country in scoring, and they do it with that great ground game.
Yeah, they run the football very well. There's only 3 teams run it better in college football. West Virginia and a couple teams that run the option in Navy and Air Force. They got an experienced physical offensive line and a pair of outstanding tailbacks that share time in the backfield. James Davis, the sophomore, is the workhorse, the leading rusher in the ACC. C.J. Spiller is the lightning bolt. He's the guy with the great speed who's averaging nearly 7 yards every time he touches the football at the tailback position. But make no mistake, this Clemson offense will be severely tested tonight by a Georgia Tech defense that is outstanding.
And for the first time since 1939, and only the second time ever, the Clemson Tigers come out wearing all purple. They will rub the rock and come down the hill. And the odd thing about this tradition is that Frank Howard's first thought was to throw the rock away. He got tired of keeping it in his office. And then he decided he would try to fire up the troops in the mid-60s. And they've been rubbing it for the last 4 years. Clemson is coming up. We'll be back after this.
ESPN's College Football Primetime, brought to you by Michelin, a better way forward, McDonald's, and A.G. Edwards, caring for nest eggs for more than 118 years.
From the go-ahead touchdown. Dotsey to the end zone again, and it is caught! Touchdown, Kerry Watkins! Dantzler keeps it. Dantzler, touchdown! Clemson wins!
There's for the win. Johnson got it! Touchdown! Georgia Tech! Oh, mercy!
83,000 on the edge of their seats for a series that has been close for the last 10 years. 9 of the last 10, in fact, decided by 5 or fewer points. They had a 6-year streak where every game was decided by 3. Holly Rowe will work the sideline for us, and Holly, we understand Tommy Bowden's doing something he's never done as a head coach.
That's right. He usually defers when he wins the coin toss, putting his defense on the field first. But his kickoff coverage has been so poor, 111th in the country, that tonight when they won the toss, he elected to keep the ball. He said, I'm selling it to my offense like I have so much confidence in them. I want them on the field first. But in reality, his kickoff coverage team has been so poor, he's not putting Georgia Tech on the field.
All right, Holly, thanks very much.
Clemson can go down and score on the opening drive. He'll look like an absolute genius here tonight. All purple, take the ball, score the opening possession.
Very short kick, fair catch made at the 25-yard line.
This Clemson offense averaging over 450 yards a game. Their impact players, the tailbacks, James Davis leading the ACC in rushing, C.J. Spiller more and more involved in the offense each week as a runner and a receiver, and Will Proctor, who has played beautifully as a fifth-year senior, his first year as a starting quarterback. I think more will be in Will Proctor's hands tonight in terms of throwing the football.
First 3 years as a backup quarterback, he only threw 34 passes. First carry goes to James Davis, who leads the ACC in rushing. He just got back to the line of scrimmage. Boy, that's a lot of purple. Grisham and Kelly are the wide receivers, both flying to the top of your screen. Davis tries to take it outside and can't. Again, stopped at the line of scrimmage. Our U.S. Postal Service lineups for Clemson. That offensive line is anchored the #4 rushing game in the nation. They are one of the most experienced units in the game of college football. 125 starts between them.
4 seniors and a junior. Played well together. They've stayed healthy. But on those first 2 running plays, Georgia Tech, who always is going to have 8 guys around the line of scrimmage, stuffed them 2 plays in a row.
The speedster, number 28, C.J. Spiller, is in as they have split backs and go to the shotgun. Over the middle, complete to Grisham out to the 42-yard line. First down, Clemson. And Jahi Ward-Daniels from the corner made the tackle.
But we know this offensive line can run block. Pass blocking here, they do a nice job of trading off. Georgia Tech is going to end up rushing 5 guys about 90% of the time. That's 5 blockers against 5 rushers. That time, the Clemson offensive line did a beautiful job of giving Proctor a pocket.
And Todd, that should be a great matchup, too, because they've only given up 4 sacks this year. And that's number 2 in the NCAA stats, although they have not been pressured that much and have not thrown that much. And Fry, Dustin Fry, the starting center, Roman Fry, excuse me, the starting left guard, is the injured player for the Tigers.
Just made the point that they had stayed healthy, and that's one of the key things for this offense, is that their offensive line not only has started a lot of games, but this season has all stayed healthy.
We'll check on Roman Fry's condition when we come back to Clemson. Roman Fry, the 6'4", 300-pound senior, signaling to the crowd, coming off, not putting any weight on that right knee. And he's replaced by a 330-pound junior, Chris McDuffie, number 68. Davis, straight up the middle, breaking tackles down to the 42. 17-yard gain for Davis. And we told you about that Clemson offensive line, one of the most experienced in the country, 125 starts between them. This is only the 3rd time in Clemson history where the line came back intact. All those other times they finished either 1st or 2nd in the ACC.
Well, they ran right over Chris McDuffie that play, so he must be pretty good himself.
Must be. Davis again, straight up the gut one more time. This one for 7, and he followed the center, Dustin Fry.
Well, one thing this Clemson team has shown an ability to do this season is overcome injuries. They lost 2 key starters at linebacker. They're playing without their 2 best wide receivers right now.
And this time, Gary Guyton coming up to make the tackle from his linebacker spot. These are good backers for Georgia Tech. They're 7th in the country against the run, and the backers have been sensational with all that speed, especially Hall and Wheeler, the club's leading tacklers so far this year.
Yeah, K. Michael Hall, his 4th year in the system, and John Tenuta, defensive coordinator, said he is like me on the field. I mean, he makes all the calls, makes all the checks, very familiar and comfortable with my system. And I trust him to get everybody in the right spot out there.
Spiller, number 28, comes in on 3rd and 4, 3 wide receivers all to the near side. Proctor from this shotgun, pressure coming. Throws it up down the middle. That one is really up for grabs, intended for Aaron Kelly. But it came down like a punt.
Yeah, Will Proctor got away with a mistake there. As a quarterback, one thing you don't ever want to do is throw the ball late down the middle of the field. There were 2 defenders there, and he's very lucky that didn't get intercepted.
Kenny Scott and Avery Roberson were back there. Now, what will Clemson do from the 36-yard line?
Well, they're going to call timeout, but they are going to go for it. This is 4-down territory in their mind right here.
A field goal try would be approximately 53 yards out of the range of most kickers, and certainly both of these teams have had so many problems with the kicking game, and we saw it again this weekend all across the country. So many kids missing extra points and chip shot field goals. I can't ever remember it being this much of a problem, and certainly Jad Dean has had these problems. Georgia Tech has had kicking problems. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, it has been a weird year for kickers, and you know, kickers traditionally are guys where their confidence fluctuates, you know, very quickly during the course of a game or a course of a season. Jad Dean last year, 24 field goals made. He was a finalist for the Grozo Award, but he just has got off to a bad start this year and hasn't been able to shake it. Only 8 of 12 in field goal attempts. He's missed 4 extra points, which you want to get to the point where you expect that your PAT is as close to automatic as you can get.
Sure.
But it's been anything but that.
Well, maybe he'll break out tonight.
Yeah,
22nd birthday. So maybe he can give himself a gift and give the Clemson Tigers a gift as well. But not from here.
No.
And this is, I think this is a pretty good call. You punt it from here, the ball happens to go in the end zone, you've only picked up 16 yards of field position.
Well, Tommy Bowden told us yesterday, he said, if we get the chance to kick a shorter field goal, I'll let Jad take a shot at it. If he misses it left or right, I'm not worried about that, as long as he kicks it well. If he kicks it too low and misses it because it's low or his timing is too slow, then I may not kick again. I may just use 4-down territory whenever we're down there. But right now, they're out of his range for the kind of kick Tommy wanted to let him start with.
Well, he got us both in the Florida State game in Holly as well when he said, I'm done. I'm not kicking anymore. He was just fed up with it that night. So it's 4th and 4. The Tigers trying to keep their opening drive alive. Good protection for Proctor. Now it breaks down. Throws sidearm, intercepted. Picked off by D.J. Jones, his 3rd pick of the year. It appeared to go right through a Clemson receiver's hands. Would have been, it looks like, a 1st down.
And Proctor left the pocket and threw the ball. It's kind of a funny-looking pass, but it was a catchable pass. There's no question that LaDante Harris could have come down with this football, and whenever that thing gets tipped up in the air, usually something bad happens.
A 6'2 senior had it hit him right in the hands, and Georgia Tech State takes over. Heisman candidate Calvin Johnson in the slot. Ball to throw, intended for Johnson. And he had Chris Clemons back there, and Clemons was not playing the ball. Johnson slowed down, and he was bumped by Chris Clemons.
Well, there is no face guarding rule in college football, so the defender doesn't have to turn around and find the ball, but if he makes contact, it can still be pass interference, and that's where the flag came. Clemons made contact, never looked for the ball, but you still can't run into the receiver.
I mean, he had good position. He's got to find the ball. You're right.
You know, we talked about how Calvin Johnson, Patrick Nix, their offensive coordinator, said the reason that he's the best player in football right now is his very presence changes the game. Every team we play, every defense we see on film is different when they play us, because you have to figure out what you're going to do with Calvin Johnson. The first play of the game, double coverage on the big receiver.
Choice is the single setback along with Reggie Ball on 2nd and 10, and Choice will get the carry. Slips a tackle at the line of scrimmage and over the 45 to the 46.
Well, Georgia Tech's impact players, when they have the football, it starts with, of course, Calvin Johnson on a real tear the last 3 weeks. He's also caught 8 of their 10 touchdown passes this year. Tashard Choice, the transfer from Oklahoma, having a fine season running the football. In fact, Georgia Tech averaging over 180 yards rushing. And Reggie Ball, I think this year playing outstanding football, playing within himself, within the system, not forcing things, and making very consistent decisions.
For the first time in his career, more touchdown passes than interceptions. Ball unloads here. complete to the other Johnson, James Johnson. He gets his first catch of the night. Our Postal Service offensive lineups for Georgia Tech. The offensive line faces a big challenge against Clemson. They aren't huge as OLs go, but they have succeeded because of their athleticism and their intelligence.
Yeah, they work pretty well together. Plus, it helps when you have an athletic quarterback because you don't have to protect a guy like Reggie Ball quite the same way, a more standard drop back guy.
1st and 10. Johnson's open because they blitzed, and Ball missed him. And having him in the slot really makes it tough to jam him. Clemson's defensive line has been great against the runs this year, and Gaines Adams gives them the pass rush. He leads the ACC with 7.5 sacks and is on track to set the team record held by Michael Dean Perry.
One of the things that they want to do tonight is get in Reggie Ball's face. They were able to do it that time. Reggie Ball is really not a tall quarterback, listed at 5'11", may not even be that tall. Clemson's got some tall defensive linemen. They want to get right up in his face and make him throw over their hands.
Choice picking his way through defenders, apparently just shy of a first down. Georgia Tech's head coach Chan Gailey, now in his 5th year, gave up the play calling and allowed coordinator Patrick Nix to do it, much the way Joe Gibbs did in the NFL with the Washington Redskins. He said he was too busy to study enough to keep up with the latest trends. Patrick Nix would be able to do that, and he thought it would be better for the team, and he loves the offense the way it's performed. 1st down, and Georgia Tech, not a lot of resistance on its running game so far.
They come into the game averaging 183 yards a game. That's about 40 yards more than they averaged last season. And a lot of that is due to the fact that, A, they've got Calvin Johnson, and that forces defenses to maybe take a safety out. It's Patrick Nix right here, new play caller for Georgia Tech, 5th year on the Tech staff. The running game also improved because they're actually calling more designed quarterback runs with Reggie Ball, with Patrick Nix calling the plays.
Tassard Choice, who is a real tough runner. Here goes Ball, and he is swarmed. They're going to let, I think, Choice go anywhere he wants, but Ball is not going to get an opportunity to carry the ball.
Reggie Ball averaging 53 yards a game rushing. That his first carry of the night for a loss of yardage. They're very concerned about not letting him get out in open spaces.
Antonio Clay made that last tackle. The young man who moved from weak side linebacker this year. It will be 2nd and 15 after the loss. Ball, nice cut to get free. Another nice cut. 30, 25, and out of bounds at the 21. Pretty block by his left tackle, Andrew Gardner, who gave him space on the outside.
See, this is what makes Reggie Ball so difficult. They double covered Calvin Johnson. That's where he wanted to go with the football. But watch, he becomes a running back. He sets up blocks like a running back. He doesn't look like a quarterback who's flushed out of the pocket. He looks like a running back who's setting up blockers in the open field. Makes him very, very dangerous. You think you have the play defended, but he makes a play where there is no play.
I mean, Chan Gailey described it perfectly. Says if you have a quarterback who can run like that, you have a half-man advantage over the other team. Ball again, design run.
Can't bounce it outside, though. He's got to follow that lead blocker inside when he only needs 1 yard.
First guy there was Gaines Adams, and he said, young man, you're not going anywhere.
Well, Gaines Adams is an up-the-field guy. He wants to come up the field and stay wide, and Reggie Ball ran right to him. I mean, that play was designed to go inside, and he ran right into Gaines Adams.
And it only took one arm. He just reached out there and said, This will be a 42-yard field goal try. Here's the other kicker that has struggled. Travis Bell, who had a sensational freshman year, struggled last year and is struggling again. And now a flag is down.
This is critical because it's 4th and 5. And this could give Georgia Tech a first down instead of having to try a field goal. I think Darrell Scott is going to be the guy that jumps off sides in this situation. And right here he is, number 97. And usually on a field goal, I mean, you don't get fooled by a snap count or anything, but see the left guard move, but only in response to the guy coming across the line of scrimmage. 4th and very short now. It wasn't a first down.
4th and inches, quarterback keeper. Ball keeps his legs driving, and this is going to be close. The line judge from the far side came in. Where he spotted it was right at the sticks.
One problem with a guy like Reggie Ball running quarterback sneaks is he's 5'10", about 190 pounds. He's not going to get a lot of oomph behind him when he hits into that line.
Just thinking the same thing because Choice is so good, and he made it by about 6 inches. Choice is such a good inside runner. But it is a first down, and what a huge penalty the offsides was. Lined up to try a long field goal. Now they don't have to settle for anything. And a new set of downs just inside the 20.
And this is where you have to be careful with Calvin Johnson. He's in the backfield. This is him right here. A different spot for him.
Run the option. Johnson runs over the first tackler. He's pretty good, isn't he?
He is good. That's a different look. Now remember, Georgia Tech had a whole week off. They played 2 weeks ago, so they've added some new wrinkles. This is different. Little option.
C.J. Gaddis just got stomped.
And C.J. Gaddis is a physical corner.
Yes, he is.
He's 6 foot, 210, a former running back. He's a put-together kid, and he just bounced right off of Calvin Johnson.
Johnson's enormous, 6'5", 240. Chan Gailey said he's the best he has ever had. And when he coached the Dallas Cowboys, he had Michael Irvin. Tashard Choice to the 19-yard line. Antonio Clay on the tackle. Let's go to Holly Rowe. Holly.
Well, guys, after that last play, Reggie Ball saw that one of his teammates got pushed in the back by Gaines Adams. So he went to his defense. He got up in Gaines Adams' face. They had a little conversation. I don't know if I'd want to irritate the defensive end if I was the quarterback. Gaines Adams actually wears a quarterback's jersey the day before the game so he can start to get that feel of what it would be like to get to the quarterback. We'll see if that exchange has an impact.
Yeah, go make a defensive back man.
Here comes Gaines.
And ball will get out of bounds. Just in front of Donnell Clark, who had him in pursuit.
Well, that was Gaines Adams that flushed Reggie Ball out of the pocket on that 3rd down play. Gaines Adams is a guy who is getting better. I mean, he really is. You talk to Vic Koenig, and he says, you know, he's a guy who played 8-man football in high school. He loves to rush the passer. He loves to stay outside and play wide. But he's getting better and better at every down performance.
They'll try a 36-yard field goal. Hooked wide.
Here we go.
Holy cow. Travis Bell now under 500 as a place kicker on field goals. He's hit only 4 out of 9. 36 yards for a big-time college football kicker is not too much to ask.
ESPN's College Football Primetime, brought to you by Dodge. You can take life as it comes, or you can grab life by the horns. Dodge and the United States Postal Service. Let your packages know their ride is here. Request a pickup at USPS.com.
Back in Clemson, South Carolina, where we are scoreless with Georgia Tech and the Tigers. 5:32 to go first quarter. Spiller is in at running back for Clemson. He'll get the carry. moves the pile ahead for 5 after he was hit just past the line of scrimmage. Let's go to Holly for an injury update. Holly?
Guys, Clemson running back James Davis has injured his left shoulder. He was seen by a trainer. They have not taped it or done any specific treatment, but he's been trying to put it up in the air, rotate it, see if he can get some movement, but it is definitely causing him a great deal of pain. Roman Fry is out for the game with a sprained left knee, so the offensive line will suffer that loss as well.
All right, thanks, Holly. For James Davis, it's got to be heartbreaking. He grew up a few blocks from Grant Field in Atlanta. Really wants to play in this game badly.
Wow, that was close.
Boy, it was nearly a pick, and Jacoby Ford comes down with it. That ball just hung in the air and hung in the air.
Well, when you throw to the left sideline from the right hash mark, that ball's in the air a long time, and it kind of fluttered on Proctor. Jacoby Ford did a nice job of concentrating on the catch and getting the first down, but that one was very close.
Jahi Word Daniels had his sights set on the other end zone. Spiller. Now, he's not the hard runner inside that Davis is, but he has blinding speed. And certainly Clemson has fought the injury bug all season. Waters and Billy were lost. 2 terrific linebackers. Taylor out for the year with an arm injury, and Stuckey, their best wide receiver, could be back next week. He suffered a broken bone in his foot. Now, they haven't just had people nicked. They have had guys they really counted on hurt, sometimes for the season. And if Davis can't come back, the load will be on Spiller for 4 quarters. Proctor with time. Almost intercepted again by D.J. Jones, who showed you some closing speed.
Trying to hit the tight end, Michael Palmer, or check that Thomas Hunter, and the ball a little bit underthrown. DJ able to get his hands on the football. Good coverage down the field by the safety.
When the ball's in the air, guys that make up ground are the ones you want. Third and 7. This one hung up again. And Proctor has not looked sharp. I mean, even the ones he has thrown that haven't been deep downfield have had a lot of air under it.
The first throw of the game on a 3rd down pass was a nice throw. Ever since then, the ball hasn't looked too crisp coming out of his hand. Taking a shot at Aaron Kelly, their 6'5" receiver. Very well played by Kenny Scott, their best cover corner. He saw that ball all the way and was right there to make a jump at it.
Cole Chasen will punt to Tyler Evans. Evans waits back at the 20. You throw enough of those balls, you're going to have several of them taken back the other way. And Proctor's done a good job this year, only 5 picks.
There is a flag down, but that was a strange kick.
Wasn't it ever?
It looked like he almost missed the ball.
31 yards with a bounce. Maybe it's starting to carry over to the punters from the place kickers. Offside call against Georgia Tech. And they certainly want to kick this one again. Even though it was 4th and 17, you want to do the punt over, right?
Offsides against the defense. A 5-yard penalty for previous spot. Still 4th down.
Cole Chasen absolutely wants another chance. Watch this ball. It looks like his foot maybe gets caught on the ground, and the ball is very low before he gets it kicked. And then it just came very awkwardly off his foot. No real pressure. Just kind of a mishit.
He hit his toe on the ground on the way through. Almost like a drop kick, and barely got it there. So Chasen will get another shot at it. That one I've never seen. Put a little pressure on him this time, and he booms this one out of there. Evans swarmed under by purple jerseys. 49-yard kick this time and only a 3-yard return. Tigers get a break on the offside penalty, and they take advantage of it. Georgia Tech's sideline is they're locked in a 0-0 first quarter battle with the Clemson Tigers. Take a look at the ACC standings as we come into this ball game. First in the Atlantic, Clemson at 3-1. Boston College with a huge win against Florida State today, also 3-1, and they have the tiebreaker. Wake Forest 2-1, Maryland 2-1, FSU probably done with that 2-3 conference record. Ball goes to the shotgun, gives it off to Choice. Picks up only a yard before he's shoved back. And let's check in with our buddy Reese Davis. Reese.
On Idaho.
Rutgers and Pitt, how about that? Scarlet Knights having some year. Ball throws complete. Dunlap. And he'll have the first down. There's a flag down. Back just past the line of scrimmage. We'll check that out. Ball more in the shotgun this year as Patrick Nix likes that look from him. Another offside call on Clemson. And Ball, with his ability to run and only at 5'11", seems to get a better look at the field from back there. And he came out a little gimpy after that.
Well, he got his ankle and knee banged up in the Maryland game, and Chan Gailey said if they would have had to play the next week. You see, just nobody hit him. It just obviously still some effects of that injury in the Maryland game. Chan Gailey said if they would have had to play the next week, he would have been a game day decision on whether he would have been healthy enough. But the week off gave him some time to mend up, but didn't look too comfortable after that play.
His backup is a sophomore, Taylor Bennett. Choice tries to cut it outside and stuck at the line of scrimmage at the 25-yard line. Let's check in with Holly.
Hey guys, Reggie Ball on that last 2 and 15 down in the red zone had that long quarterback run. After that run, when he was coming back to the huddle, he was walking so slow. He was testing out that ankle. It seems like that's the play that he may have re-aggravated that ankle injury. Guys, they said before the game he was fine and it wasn't an issue, but that play looks like it may have disrupted him a little bit.
All right, Holly, thanks very much. And he is a huge weapon for them. They're second in the conference with 183 yards a game. And he and Choice divide that up pretty well. Here comes Ball again. Gimpy leg and all across the 30 and out of bounds at the 34-yard line. About a yard shy of a first down.
It looked pretty good on that play. You know, when you have lower extremity injuries and you keep practicing and working, I mean, it just little tweaks during the course of a game or during the course of a practice. It's really hard to get rid of those things until you can really take some time off. But he looked fairly well unhindered on this scramble and got very close to a first down.
Nice block by Andrew Gardner to get big gains Adams out of his quarterback's face. 3rd and a yard. Choice, the running back, Mike Cox, is the blocker, and they're going to run out of time and have to use a timeout here. Timeout on the field, only 47 seconds to go in the first quarter. Huge game in the ACC. Reggie Ball has number 44 written on the back of his legs. That's for his brother Marcus Ball at Florida State, who is now out with a torn Achilles. He had surgery on Thursday night, and that's a tribute to his brother. So Reggie playing for more than himself and his team tonight. Family in there as well. Short yardage for Choice. He's hitting the backfield.
Great penetration. That's the way you stop running games, is by getting penetration.
Antonio Clay, the middle linebacker.
We've seen Georgia Tech get penetration. It starts with the linemen, and then Antonio Clay times it up perfectly. The play's on the opposite side of where he was penetrating, but he went right to the football unblocked. Big stop on 3rd down.
Jacoby Ford is deep for Brooks punt. The transfer out of Georgia Military College, who has been very good for this kicking game. This is returnable on a line drive, but goes out of bounds at the sideline. They'll mark it near the 30-yard line, the end of the quarter. Here at Clemson, a punt of 38, no return, nothing, end of the first period. ESPN's College Football Primetime, broadcast in high definition and presented by Pioneer Plasma Displays. Let's finish up the ACC standings for you. Georgia Tech with the only unblemished record left. They lead the Coastal Division. Miami at 2-1 after the squeaker over Duke. And those are the only two teams with less than 2 losses.
James Davis is back in for Clemson at tailback.
Georgia Tech crowding that line again, and Davis goes straight through the middle and off to the races. 30. And shoved out of bounds at the 20-yard line. Gary Guyton saved a touchdown. That's a way to come back. Bad shoulder and all, it goes for 53.
You don't need a shoulder to run if you don't get tackled. But watch the block by Chris McDuffie. Watch him pull around and lead up in here. He's the guy replacing Roman Fry, and he's going to be the guy that gets the key block. Nice block in the linebacker. Good block by Grisham, the wide receiver, downfield. And James Davis back in the game. You mentioned how much he wanted to play in this game. Only 1 carry in the ball game last year where they lost 10-9 in Atlanta.
Movement up front.
With the play.
And Davis gets down to the 15 on that last play. When McDuffie was leading, he looks like he's a Happy Meal short of 350. That guy is enormous.
He moved his feet pretty good through that hole, though.
Somehow there was no flag on that play. It looked like both lines moved early.
You wonder if James Davis is still a little bit banged up. He doesn't look completely right. He's holding his left arm a little bit strange, and now he's back out of the game.
Spiller comes in, and Spiller will get the carry. Trying to shake a tackle, reaches the 10. They need to get to the 8 for a first down. Reese Davis with a 30-30 update.
All right, Mike, real quick. Game 1 of the World Series, Cardinals and Detroit. Detroit's taking a 1-0 lead behind Justin Verlander. Carlos Guillen knocked in the run there. Notre Dame and UCLA this afternoon. It came down to the final seconds. Quinda Samardzija, less than 30 seconds to go. Fighting Irish won it by 3. SportsCenter after the game, ESPN News constantly.
Reese, thanks very much. First real danger posed by either team tonight. Clemson has reached the 10-yard line. Faces a 3rd and 2. And the Tigers will use their second timeout of the half. Big 3rd down play coming when we come back. Early second quarter at Clemson. No score. 13:30 to go in the half. Johnson so far, no catches. Davis, 7 runs, 79 yards. And 3rd down conversions, 2 for 7 combined.
James Davis is back in the ball game at the tailback position. You wonder if his shoulder's still tender. His ball security on this 3rd down play.
2 tight ends in the lineup. Davis to the 6, first down.
You mentioned how much he wanted to play in this game. He's from Atlanta, Douglas High School. Last year, he broke his wrist against North Carolina State on October 13th. He missed the next game against Temple, and in the Georgia Tech game, he played 1 play and didn't play anymore. And he's been chomping at the bit all year to play against Georgia Tech. He's got a shoulder that's a little dinged, but it's not enough to keep him out of this ball game.
He has 14 rushing touchdowns this year, entering the weekend. The next best in the ACC had 8.
See, that's where it's going to be painful. You see how he's holding his left arm when he gets off the pile. It's his left shoulder that just isn't right. And he's trying to shake it off. but every time he gets a direct hit on that left shoulder, it's going to hurt him. See, he fell on the ground on that left shoulder.
When you can see he was in pain when he landed, too.
Yeah.
He's got all the earmarks of a stinger or one of those mild separations. Stays in there, however. Proctor gives it to him again. Hit from behind. Spins down to the 2. Tackle made by Adam Oliver, who leads the defensive line in tackles and is 3rd on the team, which is very unusual for a down lineman.
Well, 3rd and goal against this tough Georgia Tech defense. Clemson has been outstanding this season in the red zone, not just scoring, but scoring touchdowns. 33 red zone penetrations, 24 touchdowns.
And Georgia Tech 7th in the country against the run. Power formation. Davis shakes a tackle. Touchdown.
Boy, how about this kid's toughness?
He ran right through D.J. Jones, who basically whipped. When you have the opportunity on a 3rd and short near the goal line to make a tackle, you've got to do it, especially when the guy's fighting an injury like Davis.
I'm just impressed that he is protecting the football with that sore left shoulder.
Dean for the point after he has missed 4 of 39 this year. That's over 10%. Clemson converts this one, and the Tigers are up 7-0. A wounded James Davis gets the touchdown.
ESPN's College Football Primetime, brought to you by GMC, engineered to the highest standard, professional grade. And Aflac, ask about it at work.
Back at Clemson University, Clemson, South Carolina, and the Tigers have taken a 7-0 lead over Georgia Tech. Early 2nd quarter. James Davis with the shoulder pads off. They are working on that left shoulder area. Chad Dean to kick. Rashawn Grant is deep. Neither one of these teams has done a very good job on kick coverage, but that's a way to solve it. You kick it out of the end zone.
Let's go back to the touchdown. Watch these 2 guys, the blocks. The left tackle, Barry Richardson, and Alex Pearson, the fullback. They're going to get 2 key blocks, and then James Davis has to do the rest. See, right here, James Davis has to beat 1 guy. He got 2 blocks, then he has to beat the last guy. Excellent goal line run by James Davis.
And Davis ended up landing on that shoulder again in the end zone on the touchdown run, and really in pain.
That's how he hurt it originally. He landed hard on his left shoulder. That's what caused the injury, and every time he's fallen on it since, it's really been painful.
Reggie Ball flushed out of the pocket. This is where he's really dangerous. Flag is down as well as he runs into Antonio Clay. And Reggie Ball a little slow getting up. And here's a holding call coming up. Let's check in with Reese. How about that? Boy, they psyched up in New Jersey for the resurgence of Rutgers football.
They're good, too, on both sides. I mean, they're physical. They're a strong defense. I was impressed with how handily they beat Navy, and now if they hold on and win this one, very impressive.
And the Big East has some huge games coming up.
Here's Calvin Johnson down here.
Instead, they'll give it to Choice, and he's buried at the 9.
Last year, Clemson's defensive strategy was to take Calvin Johnson out of the game. 4 catches, 46 yards. How did they do it? Well, in some cases, they triple covered him. They brought linebackers underneath, safety and corners over the top. Most of the time, this was their coverage. Corner in his face, safety coming over the top. Make Reggie Ball go somewhere else with the football. And it worked very well. Clemson Clemson didn't win the game. They lost by a point, but they did do the job of stopping Calvin Johnson. So far tonight, no catches.
What that means is you're playing 10 on 9, and you should have an advantage. But they haven't so far. Conservative call and choice will carry it up to the 13-yard line where Rashad Jackson makes his second tackle in a row.
Now, when Calvin Johnson was a freshman, he lit up Clemson here in this same stadium. 8 catches, 127 yards, his third touchdown with 11 seconds left in the game to win the game for Georgia Tech.
He comes into this game averaging over 93 yards a game. That is 8th in the country, tops in the ACC. He has 8 touchdown catches this year. That's 3rd in the country, and he's doing it as a marked man. Ball on 3rd and long, all day to throw. Now he takes off. And ball driven out of bounds at the 22-yard line, 8 yards shy of a first down.
Reggie was looking for Calvin Johnson. It was a zone coverage by Clemson on 3rd and 16, but watch how much attention 21 gets. He's got a guy over the top. Look at those linebackers. Gaines Adams dropping into coverage. They don't want Calvin Johnson to beat him. If somebody's going to beat him from Georgia Tech, it's not going to be 21.
Brooks will kick to Jacoby Ford. First in the conference in kick returns. Nearly had it blocked. Beautiful, high, floating punt. Ford reverses his field. Big mistake. Buried. Lawrence Marius, great job as a freshman corner back there on special teams. A loss of 6. Let's check in with Ollie.
Well, guys, stopping Calvin Johnson is a tall task for any defensive back, but C.J. Gaddis is taking it personal tonight. All week, he has had a picture of Calvin Johnson in his locker that he cut out of a magazine. The headline of the magazine was, "Is he unstoppable?" C.J. Gaddis wanted to answer that question tonight, guys, and although they're probably not going to stop Calvin all night, so far in the first half, they've done a good job.
Well, that's living up to a challenge, isn't it?
Well, they have done a great job, but, you know, C.J. Gaddis is doing his part, but it's that you can't cover him with one guy. I mean, I don't care how good you are as a corner. He is not able to be covered one-on-one.
No, since his freshman year, anytime he's had one-on-one coverage, he just eats those guys up. I mean, if you're 6'5", 240, people aren't going to out-jump you, and he's probably faster than all of them.
And what he's telling these other guys around him now is, like, hey, look, if they're going to double me, if they're going to put this much attention, some of you other guys have to step up. James Johnson, you have to step up. You know, we've got to get Tashard Choice more involved in the offense. Sooner or later, things will loosen up for Calvin, but right now, they're really squeezing him out there.
I'm really surprised they haven't gone to him on those little flanker screens or the flares, little bubble screens, just to get him more involved in the game.
One guy that I think we might see for Clemson, we haven't seen him yet, is their third back, Reggie Merriweather, the senior. Now, he hasn't played for 3 weeks. Here he comes. C.J. Spiller has the speed, but he doesn't have the power to run in between the tackles the way Davis does. Merriweather does. He hasn't played for 3 weeks because of an ankle. He practiced this week. He said he was 100%, and they need some of that power running in between the tackles to add to what they're doing offensively.
He's out of North Augusta, South Carolina. He has only had 25 carries all year, has averaged 5.5 yards a carry when he's been in there. Little screen and a poor throw. Ford makes the catch, but goes to the ground. Let's check in with Holly.
Well, guys, the Clemson sideline is calling James Davis's left shoulder injury probably just a stinger. He is in a great deal of pain, but he is likely to come back in this ball game. Although I did just see the running back coach Burton Burns giving Spiller and Merriweather a quick little tutoring session. It looked like they were trying to change some things and ask them to do some different things. So he is set to come back into this game. We'll see if he's able to do it.
All right, Holly, way to stay on top of it. Chasen will kick to Evans. Clock running, approaching the 6.5-minute mark. Low line drive, returnable kick. 35, got past the first wave and up to the 38. Yes, sir. He got all out of it he could. Akeem Robinson made the tackle. Clemson saying the ball's loose.
Well, the guy who returned it came out of the pile and handed it to the official. So I think
pretty good sign.
Yeah, I think Georgia Tech still has it. Tyler Evans.
So it is Georgia Tech's football. Can they get Johnson going in this offense? sold-out Clemson Memorial Stadium. Here's tonight's Aflac trivia question. In the early 1960s, Clemson coach Frank Howard was presented with a rock. Where did Howard's rock originate? The answer later on. I know when it was formed, sometime during the Jurassic period, I believe, but where is the question? And the rock on that hill somewhere. We may never see it again, at least tonight. Rashawn Grant in at a running back. He's number 3, and he's got the ball. And across the 40 to 41, there's a flag down.
Clemson was offsides. They came across before the ball was snapped and didn't get back.
That's 3 offsides calls. Check in with Reese.
And touchdowns now with 18. Broncos win it.
5-yard penalty, the previous spot. Repeat first down.
One of the things that Patrick Nix, the Georgia Tech offensive coordinator, has done this year is move Calvin Johnson around. Now, they've only thrown one to him tonight, and he's not been a factor. They've got to find a way to get him involved in this offense. He's their big play game changer. They are moving him in different spots, but he's too big to hide. Here he is right here. All right. So every time they got to find a way to get him in a position to make a play.
Ball, who has suffered a hip injury, is back. Throws out in the flat for his fullback, Mike Cox, who they want to get a lot of touches, but haven't been able to this year. Another flag is down, and it looks like it will go against Georgia Tech. They just look out of sync right now. A lot of that probably credited to the Clemson defense.
61 offense. 10 yards to previous spot. Repeat first down.
Matt Rhodes, the starting left guard, the junior, called for it, and Davis being re-equipped after they worked on that left shoulder.
Well, we could see that he was certainly in pain and didn't look completely right. And on that drop back, I don't think Reggie Ball looked completely right either. With the hip injury, he kind of wanted to take off and hobble out of there before he really had to.
It's hard enough to play this game if you feel good.
You're not kidding. You're not kidding. Calvin's down at the bottom now.
Taylor Bennett. Will he get a chance to play? It was Grant. Good run by Rashawn Grant. Got some good power in front of him.
See, the good news for Georgia Tech is they're only down 7-0. And this is not a blowout by any stretch of the imagination. They're right in the game, even though Calvin Johnson's been a non-factor, even though they haven't gotten any really big plays yet offensively. They're right there. They've got good field position. They just need to be patient.
Well, we talked about not throwing the ball to Calvin Johnson. They're not throwing the ball to anybody. No. 21 plays, they've only passed it 3 times.
Calvin's right down here now, down at the bottom in the wide side of the field.
Ball fumbles the snap, got it back and had it stuffed. Right in his face was Philip Merling, who has really stepped up his game this year as a sophomore. He had the advantage of the ball being on the ground, and he really closed on Reggie Ball.
See, these two defensive ends are both 6'5", Gaines Adam and Philip Merling. And Merling got right in there, beat the block of the left tackle, Andrew Gardner. And, of course, the timing of the play really messed up when Ball dropped the football. 6'5" with long arms against a 5'10" quarterback. Got a good chance of knocking that one down.
3rd and 6. The crowd comes to its feet.
Calvin's in the slot.
Reggie Ball takes off. No, sir. Driven out of bounds by Dwayne Coleman. This kid's a great story. He was a partial qualifier, regained a year of eligibility because he worked so hard in the classroom.
He's become a leader. Really has become a leader. I enjoyed visiting with him the other day. The guy, a young man that looks you right in the eyes when he talks to you. Has had his ups and downs here. Has had his ups and downs with defensive coordinator Vic Koenig, but really it was the Georgia Tech game last year that was the turnaround point for him as a player and as a person, and has really had a nice season so far this year.
Pressure coming. They don't get there. And Spiller, deep for the kick, will make the fair catch at the 13-yard line. Beautiful 45-yard punt and no return. Here is the answer to tonight's Aflac trivia question. Where did Howard's rock originate? 2,237 miles away from Clemson, Death Valley. It was in Death Valley, California. And it's been a tradition since the early 60s when Frank Howard used it to inspire his team to give 110%, which I've always disliked because that doesn't exist.
Right, I know. Yeah, there is no such thing. But everybody says it. Coaches.
Yep.
Most coaches are phys ed majors, too.
First down at the 31. Nicely said. That rock sat in Frank Howard's office for more than a year. He was going to throw it away. Then they decided they'll put it at the top of the hill in the east end zone. And in 1966, the first time the rock was in place, Clemson came from behind on an 18-point deficit to beat Virginia. Then Frank Howard said they could only rub the rock if they were going to give maximum effort. Coaches will do anything to inspire kids, and Spiller will pick up maybe a half yard before he is knocked back.
He's got his helmet on and his chin strap buckled. So that tells me one of two things. Either he's about to come back in, or he is trying to send a message to Tommy Bowden that he's ready to come back in.
Well, he's already got 89 yards. He comes in as the ACC's leading rusher, averaging over 106 yards a game. It's a huge weapon for them. Spiller in there right now and throws a good block. And they'll throw to the tight end, James Hunter, who uses that strength and that 255-yard frame to get past Kenny Scott.
Well, James Davis tonight, again, only one carry last year against Georgia Tech, his hometown school. That's where he got hurt. Landed on that shoulder, but he's come back in the game. Got this big breakaway run that set up their first score. And he was the guy that took it into the end zone. You know, remember, this Georgia Tech defense comes in only giving up 73 yards a game rushing. And James Davis has surpassed that on his own.
And this is something kids and coaches both look for. Your availability. That ball is stripped. No sign yet. It's initially going to be ruled a fumble as DJ Jones just unloaded on Grisham. Nearly took his head off and the ball came out.
Last year, when Georgia Tech won 10-9, it was 4 Clemson turnovers that were the difference in the game. 3 fumbles. Here's a fumble in this ball game in a critical part of the field and a critical part of the game.
Philip Wheeler.
That's a clean hit. That's not a bad hit.
Ends up with the ball, but what a shot by DJ Jones.
Yeah, that's
Holy
a clean hit.
Cow. That'll ruin your weekend. And his Georgia Tech football ball comes out, throws to the sideline. He sure is.
I don't know if he's hurt.
And throws incomplete. Let's check in with Reese.
All right, guys, coming up on the Pontiac Performance Halftime Report, an historic comeback for Michigan State and a thrilling one for Notre Dame. We also had a thriller that went right down to the end unexpectedly in the Pac-10. Also get you up to date on the World Series. Mark and Lou will join me. We'll see you guys in just a bit.
All right, Reese, thanks very much.
Reggie needs to just calm down a little bit, set his feet, and throw the football like he's capable of when they do throw.
Tashard Choice is back in there as the running back. And he'll get the carry on the delay, picks his way down to the 40-yard line. Merling makes the tackle. Georgia Tech and Clemson, both teams in the top 13. The winner with a heck of a shot to go into the top 10 and also have a chance to take over nice leads in their division. 9 of the last 10 have been close. Tommy Bowden has a touchdown advantage right now as his defense has been sensational. He said he thought this would be a very low-scoring, close game. 4-man rush. Ball to Choice out in the flat. Choice gets to the 37-yard line.
It's a nice tackle by C.J. Gaddis because that's a tough play out in the open field. And that was the read that Reggie Ball had to make because he wanted to go downfield to Calvin Johnson. He's running the hook route and would have been a first down. He was open, but for whatever reason, Reggie Ball didn't like the look there and threw it short to the back.
Interesting choice for Georgia Tech. And they look like they're going to go on 4th and 4. This is that iffy area in this 5-yard zone, whether you kick or go for it. And they want a chance to talk about it.
Yeah, and your kicker's already missed one tonight. So,
well, I think at this point, they're not going to give him another crack at it from this distance, certainly, because it would be about a 50-yard attempt. And I think both of these coaches have gotten to the point, if you're not going to have a nice, crisp 28-yard try,
right,
you're not going to get a shot at it unless it's
right,
the end of the game.
Yeah, it's going to have to be a real chip shot, and it's going to have to be to win the game. Right now, I think both coaches want to go into 4-down territory and try to use their offensive players to move the football.
I had mentioned something about Davis. Coaches look for players who are available, guys who are willing to play hurt.
Yeah.
It's not that you're going to get more of an injury, but you have to be willing to take the pain and stay in there.
And some guys can, and some guys can't.
Yeah.
Some guys can't get it out of their mind, and they think about the pain and what they're feeling more than what they need to do their job. Obviously, James Davis right now has been able to kind of put that behind him. It hurts. It won't stop hurting this whole night. It'll hurt even worse tomorrow morning, but he still wants to be in there playing.
And he's had a sensational first half when he's had the opportunity to be in there and run with it. Big game for both of these teams as they come in on top of the standings in their respective divisions in the ACC. And Johnson really just hasn't been involved in this ball game. The opening play, they threw deep to him. That was it. They handed it to him once. He lost 4 yards on that. Here it is, 4th and 4.
Well, they've got him in the boundary now, the short side of the field in the slot. They have Rashawn Grant outside. Here's Calvin. And now they're moving him into the backfield with Reggie Ball, trying to find a way to get him open.
They fake toward his side, and then a terrible pass to Rashawn Grant. Reggie Ball just out of sync and threw it a mile over his head.
I don't know if it's the ankle or the hip or just the Clemson pressure, but Reggie Ball is not relaxed. He's not comfortable. He's not setting his feet, and because of that, he's not throwing the ball accurately. Now, career-wise, he's not an accurate passer.
No.
He's a sub-50% passer for his career. This year, he's been about 51%, but he is not accurate right now in this ball game.
Which in these days of offense is not a very good number, 51.9%. And that was a 4th down play. They turn it over on downs. Clemson gets it back. Spiller off the right side makes the first man miss and picks up 7. We're under 1:30 to go. Joe Anawahi made the tackle.
Clemson going in their hurry-up offense. They have 1 timeout left.
Using a lot of time for the motion on this play. Here comes the blitz. And Proctor is drilled from behind. Michael Johnson, who has 3 sacks this year, got a free run from the blind side and used it to his advantage.
Now, Michael Johnson playing with a lot of confidence. He's going to make an inside move. Watch how quickly it comes on this inside stunt. And the left guard, Brandon Pilgrim, who's another backup in there right now, not able to hold him off. Now, I'm surprised that Clemson's doing this, actually, because, you know, it's going to take quite a bit to get into a field goal range for Jad Dean that Tommy Bowden would feel comfortable with. And now they stop the clock and give Georgia Tech a chance to get the football back. Georgia Tech with only 1 timeout left.
You know what teams do not do in this situation a lot? With time running out in the half, and that's go for a punt block, and I've never understood it. And Georgia Tech, right now, they need that kind of a lift.
They need something to turn things around. And they've got to remember, too, and Reggie Ball needs to know, as soon as this change of possession, the clock is going to start on Georgia Tech with under a minute.
Chasing the kick to Evans. Beautiful punt. It will kick into the end zone. So they'll start from the 20 with 45 seconds to go in the half. Monday night, Eli made the other distinction.
Okay.
Clock running. Tipped away. Gains Adams.
Again, these 2 defensive ends have gotten good upfield pressure, and they've done what Vic Koenig wanted them to do. build a wall and get in the face of Reggie Ball. Gaines Adams uses that big frame and his ball skills. They just can't get the ball to Calvin Johnson. That time he was in the backfield. They tried to throw it to him quickly. And Clemson has effectively taken him out of the ball game for the second year in a row here in the first half.
Gaines Adams had a chance to go to the NFL last year. Benson Butler among those who advised him to stay, saying you're going to love the next year. And he's enjoyed it so far. Conservative play here. They'll give the handoff to Rashawn Grant. Maurice Nelson there to make the tackle. Reggie Ball struggled in that first half. 3 out of 8 for 21 yards. Only 2 of those passes intended for Calvin Johnson.
And again, Calvin can't get frustrated. Reggie Ball can't get frustrated. Chan Gailey can't get frustrated because the score is only 7-0. So they've got a lot of football left to play.
And still, I'll bet they're frustrated. Let's go to Holly.
Coach Gailey, what has to happen to get Calvin Johnson more involved in your offense in the second half?
Well, we got to get in a rhythm totally. It's not just getting Calvin, it's getting everything going. They're a good football team, but we got to go execute. That's what we're not doing.
Why haven't you been in a rhythm, in your opinion?
Well, Reggie's been banged up a little bit, and everything that I would say is an excuse, and we just got to get better.
All right, thanks, Coach.
All right, Holly, our halftime score, Clemson over Georgia Tech 7-0. Let's join Reese Davis in the studio for the Pontiac Performance halftime report.
Thanks, guys.
Welcome back to Clemson. Almost set for the second half. Tigers up 7-0. Jackets guys will get the ball first. Reggie Ball trying to play through some pain, Lee.
Absolutely. I'm standing right next to him on the sideline. He's got a bad foot, a bad hip, and they've been knocking him all over the place, and he's hurting all over the place. Calvin Johnson, no receptions, 5 yards minus on a run. What the heck is going on? You got it. The first play of the game to go to him, interception, right?
Yep.
Pass interference. Since then,
keep coming back.
Nothing.
Well, you got to believe that's what Patrick Nix is going to do, calling the plays here. I think that Clemson's done a great job with Michael Hamlin, number 25, 6'3" as a safety, rotating him every single time directly to Calvin Johnson. What it's going to do is it's going to force Georgia Tech to have somebody else, especially with Reggie Ball ailing, to make a play. If they don't make a play with somebody else besides Calvin Johnson, they're not going to score any points.
That's right.
But get the ball to 21
That's
if
right.
you want to win.
Ball is hurt.
And
I'm
for
telling
Clemson,
you.
James Davis ailing, but some tough running. He has the only touchdown. Set with the second half. Back upstairs to Mike and Todd.
All right, Chris, thanks very much. And let's take a look at our halftime stats brought to you by the Principal Financial Group. And starting to dominate is Clemson's ground game. They've racked up 117 yards, 172 total to 79. But it's really their defense that has created that disparity in those statistics, Tom.
Yeah, 79 total yards for Georgia Tech. They ran 29 plays, averaged only 2.7 yards per play. I think the story of the first half was the courage of James Davis playing through the pain and the play overall of the Clemson defense. They absolutely shut down the Georgia Tech offense in that first half. Not just Calvin Johnson. They took him out of the game, but they also really harassed quarterback Reggie Ball. They stopped the run. And this is a defense, again, that has played through some real injury losses, but it's a fast defense, and tonight it's as well, and they have made life miserable for the Georgia Tech offense. I really think this first 5 minutes of the second half will be very, very important for Reggie Ball and the Georgia Tech offense. They've got to get some kind of new rhythm established in this game.
Talked to one of the Georgia Tech people at halftime and asked why they're not trying to get Johnson started with a couple of flanker screens or something like that. And they said, well, they don't like to throw him balls on those kind of plays because it takes him a step or two to get his speed up, and they just don't want that to happen. They've got to find a way to get him the ball. Second half kickoff taken out to the 27-yard line. They'll start from there. And let's take a look at the Georgia Tech offensive stars and how they have done in this ball game, and you'll see they have done very little. Johnson, no catches, 1 rush on a little option play, lost 4 yards. He has been a non-factor. Clemson has done a brilliant job against him. Let's see if Ball can overcome those injuries in the second half. Delayed handoff to Shard Choice. And he stopped by Antonio Clay. Nothing Georgia Tech is doing right now is having much effect against that Clemson defense, which comes in number 4 in the country in total defense.
I was concerned about the Clemson defense. Their numbers were impressive, but I didn't think they had really played anybody other than Boston College. That was the best offensive team they faced.
And Boston College scored on them. Ball flushed and taken down.
This Antonio Clay's having a wonderful game.
Yes, he is. Let's go to Holly.
Guys, Tommy Bowden told his Clemson team in the locker room at halftime that he was thrilled with how they handled the offense of Georgia Tech in the first half. He said, hey, guys, they had an open date to throw in all kinds of new wrinkles, and you handled everything they gave you. He said, now the question is, I want you to throw every single bit of energy you have into this game. Don't anyone walk back into this locker room with 1 ounce of energy. Guys, we'll see if they can leave it on the field in the second half.
All right, thanks, Holly. Tommy Bowden, very entertaining to talk to. He just comes up with some great stuff, the kind of things his dad has always come up with. And we've got a timeout on the field. Georgia Tech searching for answers. So far, they're not finding any. Back with Georgia Tech and Clemson, Antonio Clay, 7 tackles tonight. He has been terrific.
Yeah, he really has. He's really started to get more comfortable at that inside linebacker position that he moved to.
Pressure coming on ball. Looked like Clemson was offside, and they were. And that was Philip Merling, the defensive end, who gets great jumps.
False start, number 68 in the offense.
That's what I was going to say. They stopped the play.
Still third down.
So it had to be on the offense. It's Mansfield Rotto, 6'3", 310-pound senior right tackle.
Mansfield's trying to figure it out. He was a 3-year starting defensive lineman, so he knows what encroachment is and what offsides is. His first year as a starter on the offensive line, got the false start.
He started 32 games at defensive tackle. Georgia Tech, you talked about the first 5 minutes. They've lost 7 yards on 2 plays and a penalty and used a timeout in the first 2 minutes of the third quarter. Not good. Pressure coming on Ball. Tucks it and falls. Reggie Ball slips at the 15. They'll have to kick the ball away.
He slipped, but he still doesn't look too comfortable. And we heard Lee Corso talking at halftime about being down there by him. He's not healthy. He's not feeling good. And that's a part of it, because he does not look comfortable when he drops back to throw.
Well, they're going to have to drag him off the field if they want to get him out of there. He's that kind of a competitor. Brooks will kick to Spiller. Pressure coming. They almost got there this time. They're just intent on getting one. And a flag down. That's going to be interference. Tony Clark was trying to make the catch, or rather he got downfield covering Spiller and may have been too close to him. Interference with the opportunity to make the catch. They got rid of that halo rule, but it's almost the same thing.
Kick catch interference, number 15 of the kicking team. 15 yards to spot a foul.
I don't understand this penalty. This is against Georgia Tech, but it wasn't against Tony Clark, number 7. That's who we're seeing. They said it was on 15, which I don't see a 15. Didn't he say 15?
Yes, he did. And obviously number 7, Clark, was the only one who was close to it.
There's 15, but he's not on our list.
He wasn't in there.
Wow, I don't know what that penalty was. I'm not sure Chan Gailey knows what it was either.
Great field position for Clemson. And Davis off to the races. Great use of a blocker. 15, cuts back to the 12. 30 yards on the run for Davis.
Well, we talked about the courage of James Davis being part of the big story in the first half. He's back in there, sore left shoulder and all. Excellent job running in there. Now 119 yards on his 12th carry. And almost all of his damage has been done running right up the middle against this Georgia Tech defense.
Got to give credit to the middle of that Clemson offensive line, and they're doing it without the starting left guard, Roman Fry, who was hurt early in the ball game. Davis again wheeling up the middle inside the 10.
If you take a look at where James Davis has run the football, he scored a touchdown running off to the left, but everything else has been straight up the gut. And those last two plays, his first two carries of the third quarter, straight up the gut as well.
2nd and 7 for Clemson.
So he gives them that power in between the tackles, plus the speed. Right away, good decision by Will Proctor.
Yes, it was. And that's what seniors are supposed to do when they don't have anybody, especially down here in the red zone where points are just waiting on you.
You know, in college football today, when you talk about quarterback play, it's so much more than just sheer numbers. It's about managing the game. It's about getting out of bad plays. It's about reading and recognizing at the line of scrimmage. And that, to me, is what really stands out about Will Proctor this year. It's not necessarily his numbers. Those aren't great numbers tonight. But his management of the game this season has been pretty good.
Proctor back this time, fade into the corner and too long. Intended for Aaron Kelly, who has 2 touchdown catches this year. And Kenny Scott with excellent position on the play.
This Georgia Tech defense, John Tenuta, the coordinator, they just are not out of position very often. I mean, they're pressure, they're aggressive, they attack the line of scrimmage, but they always seem to be in the right spot. Now they give up some plays because if running backs get to the second level against this defense, they can gash them a little bit, but they are very seldom out of the right spots.
Chad Dean, who has struggled, you see only 8 out of 12 will try from 25 yards. Perfect. Clemson extends his lead to 10-0, and when we come back, we'll update you on the amazing story about Ray McElrathbey and his little brother Famar.
ESPN's College Football Primetime, brought to you by Allstate. Are you in good hands? And Cheez-It, the big cheese.
For Clemson, South Carolina, it's the game of the year in the Atlantic Coast Conference, and Clemson holds a 10-point advantage over Georgia Tech. We're early in the third quarter. Jamal Evans, a freshman, is deep for Georgia Tech. Both teams have been atrocious on kickoff coverage this year. Chances for big plays, but not this time. Let's go to Holly Rowe. Holly.
Well, guys, I'd just like to update you on a story that we started back at the Florida State game with Ray McElrathbey. He has taken in his younger brother, Famar. They have become a very famous duo as he took temporary custody of Famar. And the NCAA made a special ruling allowing them to start a trust fund so Ray could establish some money to care for his younger brother. As of this week, the trust fund is up to $72,000, donations from all over the country, even one little girl. More in just a moment.
All right, Holly, and that is a wonderful story. Go ahead and keep going with that.
Guys, as I was saying, one little girl even sent in $1 with a note that said, "This is my allowance." So all over the country, people have been pouring in with their generous spirit to help out this little family. Next week is Famar's birthday, his 12th birthday, and he has asked Ray for only 2 things: a number 9 jersey, his big brother's jersey playing number, and a bicycle. So far, they're doing pretty good, guys.
That is tremendous, Holly, and hats off to the Temple football team because they donated $1,500 of their per diem money. Players get per diem on the trips to donate to that trust fund. I thought that was a tremendous gesture on their part, and it's a wonderful story, and hats off to the NCAA for making an exception in a case that obviously needed for an exception to be made. And we wish both of those young men all the luck in the world.
And hats off to this Clemson defense because they have come out with the same passion and intensity that they played the first half with. Georgia Tech, so far this third quarter, nothing on offense.
3rd and 7 to the shotgun. Ball backing up as he throws underneath for nothing to James Johnson.
Yeah, I think Chan Gailey needs to get a hold of Reggie Ball right now and say, look, if you're healthy enough to play, then stop dancing around. You need to set your feet and play, because we can't win this game without you being a big-time player. If you're not healthy, then tell me, and we'll go with some other direction. We'll go with something else, because right now Reggie Ball, it just doesn't look like he can do what he needs to do.
That's a great point, and what he's not doing is helping his ball club as much as he may want to. They'll whistle this play dead.
Before the snap, false start, 54 on the kicking team. 5 yards in the previous spot, remains 4th down.
There's 5 more yards.
Well, Georgia Tech went on the road to Blacksburg a few weeks ago and played well. Came away with a big-time victory on the road in a very difficult place to play. They jumped on Virginia Tech early, and then they just kind of rode it out. They have not looked the same on the road tonight here at Clemson.
Brooks to kick. Pressure up the middle. Brooks goes down, no flag. What a punt. Spiller on the return, got a block at the sideline, takes it to the 25-yard line. 60-yard punt. Let's take a look at the ESPNU All-State Standings review. We'll take a look at the national standings. Ohio State with a big win against Indiana. USC had a bye this week. Michigan had to struggle for a long time to get by Iowa. Auburn rolled Tulane. West Virginia on Friday night rolled Connecticut. Florida was off. Everybody else in the top 10 wins. Louisville, Notre Dame, Texas, California. Although Louisville, Notre Dame, and Texas and California all had their hands full.
And you wonder how that will affect their BCS ranking on Sunday.
Spiller dragging tackles with him to the 32, and there's a flag down on the play. You know what you can do with those computers that are part of the BCS rankings? I mean, some of that is just insane. I don't know how they come up with the things they come up with.
Holding, 79 of the offense. 10 yards to previous spot. Still 1st down.
Left tackle Barry Richardson.
I think the biggest thing Clemson needs to be careful of in this ball game is protecting the football the rest of this game. Their defense is playing lights out. They had 2 turnovers in the first half, but they survived it and still have a 10-point lead. But last year, it was the 4 turnovers that did them in. They had 3 fumbles against Georgia Tech last year, hadn't fumbled at all coming into that ball game. A couple turnovers in the wrong spot here in the second half could get Georgia Tech back in the game.
1st and 20. They'll give it to Spiller. And Spiller with that speed, if he goes outside, I think he had another 10 yards, maybe more. He cut back inside, and Roberson made the tackle along with DJ Jones.
You know, he's just one of those guys that you kind of hold your breath when he gets the ball, because he has that ability, that speed to go coast to coast. I mean, he's averaging, coming into tonight's game, almost 7 yards a carry as a true freshman.
He was the 100-yard dash champion in Florida. They have, or the 100-meter dash champion in Florida. They've had 2 in a row. Recruited to Clemson, who won that honor. And speed is so critical in college football. Spiller looks like he's about a yard shy of a 1st down. Robertson made the tackle. Let's go back to Holly Rowe.
Guys, more injury updates for that Clemson offensive line. Tight end Thomas Hunter is likely out for the game with what they're calling an upper body injury. Guys, this really hurts them because they are planning on using 2-3 tight end sets to help offset that pressure defense of Georgia Tech. They do have some depth at that position, though. We will see more of Michael Palmer, freshman, number 86, number 84, Akeem Robinson, and 82, Darrell Barbie.
All right, Holly, thanks very much. And they are already without two of their top 3 receivers as they go for the first down here. Rendrick Taylor is out for the year. Chancey Stuckey has been hurt for a month. So they're not nearly as explosive in the passing game, but you can see how good they are on the run.
And they've made a pretty good adjustment here. What Clemson has realized is that their zone running game, which has kind of been their bread and butter this year, has not been as effective because when they've run the zone, Georgia Tech has gotten penetration and they've distorted the line of scrimmage. So they've stuck more to their power run. They've got 2 tight ends, and it's more the inside power game that has been effective for them in the running game.
And you saw those running numbers, and that is with Georgia Tech coming in at one of the best teams against the run in the country. Let's check in with Reese.
14-0.
All right, thanks, Reese. Nothing like a Saturday night in Baton Rouge, huh? Spiller.
Boy, they're gashing him right now.
Yes, they are. And this is really demoralizing if you're a defense.
Yeah.
They just tell you, here we come, and you can't stop them anyway.
Well, their offense isn't helping them out any. And this big offensive line, even though it's lost one of their key guys in Roman Fry tonight, they're going right at him. Take a look at that Georgia Tech defense against the rush. Coming in, 72 yards, Clemson getting after him right now, running the football.
You see the comparison from their average and where they are in the national stats. Davis is back in there. And you have the feeling we may not see Davis except as in a relief role for Spiller, nursing that sore shoulder. I'm sure they'd like to get him as few carries from now on as possible. And Spiller is going to come right back in the ball game. Davis is going to stay. Usually they run out of split backs in this situation. But you got to take your hat off to Davis for playing with that obviously painful shoulder injury. Proctor lost this one. Into coverage, incomplete. We've seen a few of those tonight. Will Proctor got back against Kelly. Excuse me, Todd.
No, he just kind of pulled the string on this one. You can't let this ball fade back to the inside because that's where the corner is. The corner has inside position, so this ball has to be thrown outside. When it's thrown to the inside, the corner has the best shot to make the play, and that's an excellent cover corner. Kenny Scott is an excellent cover corner. Perfect position, made a play on the ball.
And when you throw it inside, you take away his height advantage. He's a 6'5" receiver. 3rd and 7. Blitz coming. They pick it up. Now it breaks down, and Proctor is sacked.
You know what happened there? Will Proctor, he almost threw an interception the play before. He didn't want to take a chance and throw one into coverage there, and he held it a little bit too long.
Adam Oliver got him. Oliver's made a couple of big plays tonight from that defensive end spot. So they drive Clemson back to their own 44 and force a chase and punt.
Well, that was a good stop.
Yes, it was. Something they really needed. You just get the feeling their offense is not going to drive the ball the length of the field. They're going to need a turnover or a break, and they almost got it on the block punt.
The backup place kicker got a block punt the last game, and he almost got one there again. Troy Garside, number 16, was very close to getting his second block punt of the season.
You don't see many backup kickers on punt coverage. South Carolina about an hour away from a major explosion of emotion. They are up 10-0 on Georgia Tech. 4:06 to go, third quarter. Reggie Ball sits in the pocket and throws. They're still not going to Johnson. He is just not any part of this club's offense. That's the tight end, Matthews.
But they've got to go somewhere else. I mean, if they're going to try to take him out, they've got to go somewhere else and loosen things up. Look at what Calvin has done the last 3 games on a real tear coming into tonight. Nothing. 3 zeros across the board. One route I think they might be able to get him on is a slant route. Even though the safety's coming over the top to help, the corner will give him inside position.
Choice trying to get the first down and should have it up at the 19. That last catch by Michael Matthews was the first catch by a tight end this year for Georgia Tech, and they play 3 guys at tight end. They just don't throw to him. And that was the first Georgia Tech first down since there were 2 minutes left in the first quarter. That's how much they have been throttled by a tremendous Clemson defensive effort.
Well, here's Calvin out here this time, working on Gaddis. Safety is over the top.
Ball looks in that direction. And James Johnson, drops the ball.
But again, Reggie Ball didn't set his feet. I mean, he didn't have a lot of pressure there. And he's still kind of throwing as he's backing up, and the ball was a little underthrown. Watch Reggie go back. He thinks he's going to get pressured. It's not really a lot of pressure, but you see his momentum is still kind of drifting backwards as he threw the football. That ball could have been caught.
You're perfectly right, but if you're a wide receiver, you got to bail your quarterback out on that.
Absolutely, especially when you're struggling.
And he is the only other threat they have. He's caught 15 balls this season. Nobody else with more than a half does it. Ball on the roll. This time Johnson will make the catch, but he falls as he gets the reception and is 4 yards shy of a first down. Now to bring up 3rd and 4.
And this is where I think you got to try to throw it to 21. I mean, you got to see what they give you coverage-wise. And again, I think a slant route, just a short drop and a quick slant, he can get inside of the corner before the safety can be a factor.
Georgia Tech, a paltry 1 out of 9 on 3rd down.
Here he is in the slot now. It's a little harder to double a guy when he's in the slot. Nobody's on him. Throw him the ball.
Ball in trouble, somehow got away, and now tries to hit one down the sideline. And you're right, Todd, there was nobody covering Johnson in the slot. Nobody.
I mean, if you see this as a quarterback, you just call for the snap and just raise up and throw him the football. They put him in the slot. He's right here. Now, there's nobody in here. Just throw him the ball. Just raise up and throw him the ball. Calvin doesn't even have to run a route. But you got to get him involved in the game.
Lost opportunity there to get their All-American candidate to football. And now they'll have to punt it away. Jacoby Ford will go back this time. He is the other sprint champion from Florida.
Oh, another great kick.
Boy, that's a beauty. Drives him all the way back to the 21. And good punt coverage by Georgia Tech. 6 yards on the return after a 52-yard kick. Here's what is at stake in this ball game between number 12 and number 13. ACC, old school ACC rivals. There's a lot because both came in tied for first place, or Georgia Tech was in first place in their division. Clemson tied with Boston College for first place in their division of the ACC, and hoping somebody else can knock off BC during the year because the Eagles have the tiebreaker on Clemson.
You got to keep pace with them. BC won today down in Tallahassee.
Davis, the tailback. Look at the hole. James Davis to the 50. He could have taken a bus through that opening.
Well, they outman him a little bit with a couple extra guys, and then watch right here. Look at that hole. The more they get that defense to run against the zone, the more the creases open up. They cover up everybody with blocks. They got extra blockers over there with the tight end and the fullback, Pearson. And they gashed him again.
Davis, bad shoulder and all, 15 carries, 148 yards. And he's doing it against a really good rush defense. Spiller, what a cut! Good night! One cut, one missed tackle, and it was over. 50 yards for Spiller. What a great cut.
Running the zone, the offensive line gets the back to the second level, and in Rob Spence's words, then it's up to the back. He's got to take over after that. Spiller did.
Dean for the point after. 253 yards rushing for the Clemson Tigers tonight.
Watch these two blockers. The left guard is Brandon Pilgrim, and watch the senior center, Dustin Fry. Dustin Fry comes off that block and gets a block right on Philip Wheeler in the hole. And that's all that C.J. Spiller needed was one more block to make his cut into the secondary. And then nobody's going to catch him once he gets to that point. The guard and the center worked together, came off on the block, and Spiller took it.
USA Today All-American, a parade All-American, a sprint champion, and he is gone. And in a game like this, a 17-0 lead may be too much for Calvin Johnson and Georgia Tech to expect to overcome. And Clemson has now exceeded its season average in 3 quarters with 253 yards rushing. They average 250 a game against a lot worse defenses than they're playing tonight.
But the last 3 weeks, they've averaged over 300 yards a game rushing, and they are right on that pace again tonight. Boy, they are impressive. The whole thing when they run that zone is to get that defense moving, and the more they get them to move, the bigger the creases open up. And a guy like C.J. Spiller doesn't need a real big crease.
No, he doesn't. Well, this has been a weekend of surprises, a lot of close games where we didn't expect a lot of close games, and then in a game like this where we thought it would be a nail-biter to the end, there hasn't been much nail-biting. Evans on the return. Taken down at the 27-yard line, and the two-headed monster for Clemson's ground game, Davis and Spiller, have both done their job tonight. Davis with that bad shoulder has come up with 148 yards, 9.9 a carry. Spiller just got his average sky high at 8.9 after that 50-yard jaunt. And listen to the Clemson faithful. They stand and cheer for that defense. And for the team as a whole, they've done a great job. Ball throws incomplete. The first time Johnson has had a shot in the second half, it was behind him, but at least they looked his way.
Well, I've seen him make this catch before, reaching back behind him. See, that's the slant. I think the slant route is kind of open because the corner is jumping outside, knowing that the safety's coming over to the top to help. So there is a soft area where they can get him the football, but it's best if you throw it in front of him.
Ball looks the other way and throws. This one will be complete for about 6 yards to James Johnson. His 4th catch of the night. Now 3rd and 4 with the clock running. Can they get off the play before time expires? It doesn't look like it. And they won't. Georgia Tech will have 15 minutes left to keep their hopes of a comeback alive. They're down by 17 at Clemson. It won't take long. ESPN's College Football Primetime is broadcast in high definition and presented by Pioneer Plasma Displays. Clemson goes back to work, and pass to the tight end Michael Matthews. You get a brief look at the Esso Club, one of the traditions here at Clemson, South Carolina. Started as a gas station, and you might remember the logo. Served its first beer in 1933, and between 1956 and 1958, it was an extremely popular place here because it was the only place you could get a beer served to you. The longest Georgia Tech pass completion of the night, 12 yards. Ball deep downfield. Oh, just overthrown. James Johnson had a couple of steps. Couldn't make the catch. Let's go to Reese.
All right, Mike, Oklahoma trying to adjust to life without Adrian Peterson against Colorado. Already up 17-3. A little exclamation point touchdown from Chris Brown. Alan Patrick went over 100 yards as a running back. Adrian Peterson enjoying the show. 24-3 over Colorado.
All right, thank you, Reese. And we've got our own shutout brewing here as Clemson is leading Georgia Tech 17-0.
Yellow Jackets face the 2nd and 10. Ball.
And pushed out of bounds by Antonio Clay, who had a free shot at the quarterback, did the smart thing, knew he was going out of bounds and let him go.
So there's a lot to be impressed with this Clemson football team tonight. Obviously the running of James Davis, C.J. Spiller, the offensive line, but this defense, again, I thought the only offense they really played this year that was a big-time offense or close to it was Boston College.
Right.
And they gave up a lot of points, lost in double overtime. But they have really stifled this Georgia Tech offense.
I think it's their best performance of the year by far.
Nice play. Nice throw by Reggie Ball. He's thrown 2 really nice balls on this drive.
And a good job by Chris Dunlap to keep his feet in bounds and make the catch.
He threw the deep one to James Johnson very well, and this one, it's a long throw. Right hash mark, sets his feet, drives into it. Beautiful throw to the sideline by Reggie Ball. Best throw of the night.
Looks like a different quarterback, doesn't it?
You know, being accurate as a thrower has more to do with your feet than it does your arm. It's getting your body in the right position and taking the right fundamental steps.
They've reached the 42. Back to the ground game with Tassard Choice. And Choice, as you saw the Oklahoma report by Reese Davis, played a year behind Adrian Peterson at Oklahoma and then transferred. He is strictly one of those between the tackle guys. A very hard, very good runner, averaging 5 yards a carry. Came into this game 3rd in the ACC in rushing average. Georgia Tech having a little success on this drive. Pressure coming on Ball, hangs it up. Underthrown, intended for James Johnson. Oh, somehow he caught it.
He just never lost his sight of the ball. I think it may have even bounced off of the defender, Creston Butler.
Creston Butler had great position. Let's see how he caught this ball.
Butler has perfect position. He's got the sideline as his friend. It bounced off of Butler and right into the hands of Johnson. Wow, great concentration.
Holy cow, what a catch. Off the helmet. And what a break for Georgia Tech. And the point after by Travis Bell is good. And just like that, Tech's back within 10 on a miracle touchdown play. Georgia Tech gets on the board with their first score. They get it here in the 4th quarter. And they've cut the lead to 10.
Well, now they've got to find a way to slow down this Clemson running game.
Yahiaoui with a short pooch punt. And the fair catch made at the 28-yard line.
You know, the last drive, Reggie Ball looked completely different. His first 9 drives, 6 of 13. This drive, he threw everything well. This one was dropped by James Johnson, but he set his feet and threw it well. Big play there on the sideline route. And then the touchdown. Yeah, he got a little lucky, but 3 throws, that whole drive, he was 4 of 6. And every time he threw it that drive, he set his feet and looked solid throwing the football.
He'll need to keep doing it. And Ball in the last drive, 4 out of 6, 72 yards. And now we'll do the kick over again as there's a flag down, a personal foul.
Wow.
No kick over. Personal foul was against Georgia Tech. So Clemson will get it all the way out at the 44.
By design, they kicked it short to not let him return it. Then the personal foul, and now all of a sudden Clemson right out by midfield. How will Georgia Tech stop the run the rest of this game?
Not very well. Davis picks up 5. Davis already had a huge night, as has C.J. Spiller, as they have gashed this Georgia Tech defense, which came in 7th in the country in rushing defense, 4th in the country in scoring defense. They've been overmatched tonight.
This offensive line for Clemson has really started to take control of the line of scrimmage.
Only 1 wide receiver here.
And I give a lot of credit to offensive coordinator Rod Spence, because he said, you know, we've got to be patient. I've got to be patient with the running game. Because early in the game, there weren't a lot of holes there. Georgia Tech was closing. They were getting penetration. But he has stayed with it. He hasn't put the game into Will Proctor's hands and said, okay, we can't run. We've got to just go ahead and throw. They have stuck with it, and now they're over 260 yards rushing for the game.
Grisham and Ford come in as wide receivers. Davis and Spiller are in there together, which spreads the field a little more, and they've been able to find some gaps in the running game with this. Proctor under pressure out in the flat. Spiller makes a move, needs to get the first down. There we go! Spiller, 50 yards!
Are you kidding me?
K. Michael Hall and Kenny Scott thought they had him, and they didn't. They didn't even touch him. That's 2 of those tonight.
And that's 2 of the best players on this Georgia Tech defense. Watch C.J. Spiller just freeze these 2 seniors. K. Michael Hall, see ya. Kenny Scott, goodbye. Wow. He's lightning.
And he did it on the run for 50 yards. He made somebody stand there and just look silly. And he did it again. They've got over 300 yards rushing tonight. And the extra point is good. And just like that, they get the touchdown back that they gave up on the lucky break on the pass play. What a run by Spiller.
ESPN's College Football Primetime, brought to you by the Honda Ridgeline, Motor Trend's 2006 Truck of the Year, and the United States Postal Service. Let your packages know their ride is here. Request a pickup at USPS.com.
Look at the scene at Clemson, South Carolina. They are devastated on the Georgia Tech sideline. The rest of this building is going crazy for what the Clemson Tigers and C.J. Spiller did on the last possession. And here comes Jamal Evans back on the kick return. Todd, let's go back to that last touchdown.
Yeah, well, it was just a simple play. Here's C.J. Spiller, and they're just going to try. It's 3rd and 4. They're running a little swing route, and they're just going to try to get it to him and see if he can run forward for the first down. They called the play. There's certain things you can coach, and then there's other things you don't coach. This shake and wiggle, you don't coach that. I mean, that's God-given. There's no other way to explain it. K. Michael Hall is an outstanding player. No chance.
He just over-pursued, got to the sideline, and here is Ball backing up and just throws it away. And once he made the move on Scott, you could have been driving a car before he got to the end zone.
Well, he's like lightning. I mean, James Davis is thunder. He's power and got good speed. This guy has incredible speed. Look at that second half.
He has made 2 fakes tonight that are world class. When you freeze somebody, you've done it. Ball throws underneath to Johnson. He's whacked as he got to the 34. For more on that running game, let's go to Holly.
Well, guys, C.J. Spiller was one of the top recruited running backs in the country last year. And you might wonder how Clemson, who already had sophomore James Davis, might have gotten him. Well, what they did is James Davis helped recruit Spiller. He said, hey, look, Auburn had 2 backs with Williams and Brown a couple years ago. Reggie Bush and Lindell White. We need a 1-2 punch. So Spiller came. And, guys, this is a perfect example tonight of that 1-2 punch. James Davis in the first quarter, Spiller in the fourth.
Holly, that's a terrific story. And it's still a hard sell because most guys don't want to be part of a 2-man rotation. They want to be the guy. But obviously, Tommy Bowden and his staff did a tremendous sales job, and it has worked out beautifully.
Yep. Well, the other thing you point out, when you give an example like in Auburn, not only did those 2 guys coexist, but they both got drafted in the first round by the NFL. And that's the other thing you sell.
That's for sure.
You know, Minnesota had a couple of 1,000-yard rushers. Lawrence Maroney, maybe one of the best young backs in the NFL right now, and he wasn't the only starting tailback at Minnesota.
Sadat Chambers and Gaines Adams will share credit on that sack. And for Adams, his 6th straight game with at least a half a sack. And he is closing in on Michael Dean Perry's school record. Future in this business or any other business that he wants to take up. A very bright, very well-spoken young man. He's obviously a tremendous football player. Davis. I'm surprised with the shoulder problem he has had that he's still in there with them leading by 17 in the fourth quarter.
Well, you know, it's obviously something that the doctors have looked at and evaluated and said he's not going to injure it more. I don't know exactly what the extent of the injury is. And then it becomes a matter of, James, can you play with the pain? Can you deal with it? You're not going to hurt it any worse, so you can go out there and play. It's not like they've got a week off. They play on Thursday night against Virginia Tech in another huge ACC game. So
it has been diagnosed as a stinger, so he doesn't have a, which is a pinched nerve, so he doesn't have a nothing broken, nothing separated. There goes Davis again.
Oh, my God.
Look at this. Stiff arm inside the 5. K. Michael Hall couldn't make the tackle, and he went for 54 yards. What a running game they've thrown up tonight.
It's the cutback off the zone. You get that defense moving, and you get it back with vision and let him find the space. The key to the zone, get that defense moving and let the back find a seam. And when you got a back with this kind of power and balance and strength, boy, this running game is great. It's a great running football team.
James Davis came in tonight leading the ACC, averaging 106 yards a game. Tonight, a career-high 211. Davis again, this time just down to the 5. Between he and Spiller, they have just gashed Georgia Tech's defense.
And you know what? You've got to really give credit to this offensive line, too, because they lost Roman Fry early in the ball game. And we've seen both Chris McDuffie in there, number 68, and now Brandon Pilgrim, number 74, has been in there a lot.
Christian Capote, number 67, is in there right now.
This is a good offensive line. Brad Scott, the offensive line coach, was a former head coach at South Carolina, offensive coordinator at Florida State. They have really played well tonight at the line of scrimmage.
Second and goal. Here goes Davis. Student body right. Touchdown.
Capote and Bennett pulled and led. Alex Pearson, the fullback, was out in front too. And they just wiped out all resistance.
This has been impressive tonight, particularly when you consider the fact that Stuckey is out and Taylor is out. Two of their best three receivers. They're not that great a passing team to start with, and they just went in your face, we're doing this.
And you know Georgia Tech said we've got to stop the run and force them to beat us throwing the football. And they haven't been able to come close to that.
The last three drives, Clemson has scored touchdowns. Drives of 51 seconds, a minute 54 and 2:03. Party's over. Back at Clemson, South Carolina, and here is tonight's storyline presented by Honda Ridgeline. And what a storyline. Davis, 216 yards rushing. Spiller, 116. And the All-American and Heisman Trophy candidate, no catches. None. Not one. Now let's check in with Reese Davis for a 30 at 30 Sports Center update.
Center after the game, ESPN News Network.
The previous spot, re-kick.
Now, John L. Smith finally had something to celebrate. I'm happy for him and happy for that ball club. Clemson offside on the kickoff. And Tommy Bowden is just livid. He's lighting up his special teams like a Christmas tree. One thing coaches don't like, they don't want anybody being content, no matter what the score. .7:22 left in this game. Clemson is just stunning Georgia Tech right now. High short kick taken by one of the up men. That's the backup tight end, Michael Palmer.
Well, this second half has been all the running game. C.J. Spiller and James Davis, the Lightning and the Thunder. Outstanding. This little swing pass. Two huge plays by C.J. Spiller, just showing that electric speed against a tiring Georgia Tech defense. And James Davis playing with a bad left shoulder. Still grinding it out. Career high, 216 yards right now.
Boy, it's a combination of tailbacks. There is nothing they have not shown tonight. Courage, power, speed, faking ability. And that's what Holly was talking about. The two guys acting in tandem at tailback was how they sold Spiller on coming here. And boy, the sales job has paid off.
And again, just the complete team effort in this game. I mean, the defense of Clemson has been outstanding. They've given up one touchdown, and that was on a play that bounced off of the defender into the hands of the wide receiver for Georgia Tech. I mean, this has been an outstanding team effort by Clemson.
Reggie Ball's battled injuries all night long. Gets another completion to James Johnson. That's his 7th catch tonight, but he is obviously not the threat that Calvin Johnson is. Most of the stuff has been underneath. And in fairness to Ball, that's what he's had about time for, is underneath. And they put pressure with a 4-man rush. Ball misses again, intended for Calvin Johnson.
Well, you can just tell by Calvin's body language. I mean, he's a leader on this team and has had a great season, but I mean, he's just been a non-factor, and he just hasn't been able to find anything to get him going. It's just amazing that a guy this good could be an absolute non-factor in a game like this. Now, I guess the only thing that you can say is because he's gotten a lot of double coverage, it has opened things up for James Johnson a little bit, but James Johnson doesn't have the same playmaking ability that Calvin Johnson does.
He's never been shut out in his career. Ball trying to find the handle, now being forced to run and throws against the grain. That's incomplete. Now here's today's Good Hands flashback presented by Allstate. the great catches of Calvin Johnson throughout his career, and he has been able to do this time and time again. And as Chan Gailey said, the way we told you earlier in this ball game, he's never had somebody with a hand-eye coordination, the size, the speed, and the determination of Calvin Johnson as a wide receiver, either here in college or in the pros. Never. Ball just throws this one up for grabs. It succeeded the last time, but not this time. It is picked off by Cresden Butler, the young man who was burned on the touchdown. Same pattern, in fact, that Johnson was running when the ball bounced off the helmet.
Yeah, he's in great position again. He's looking at the quarterback the whole way, sees the ball in the air, gauges the flight, jumps and catches it at the top of his jump. It's excellent work by a young corner. This is not a veteran seasoned guy in Cresden Butler. He's a freshman.
That's his third interception this year. He's a very good defensive back in high school. He was probably a better option quarterback, but they have made him a defensive player here. And the Clemson Tigers take the ball back with only 5:25 left to go in this ball game.
It's amazing when you think about it. I mean, there's still, I don't know the exact number, how many undefeated teams left in college football, but you think of how close this Clemson football team is to being undefeated.
Oh, yeah.
You go back to that Boston College game on September 9th. They gained 479 yards. They outrushed BC. They only had one turnover. They never gave up a play of over 20 yards on defense. They converted 50% on third down, and they still lost 34-33 in overtime because of a blocked extra point. And I'll tell you the other thing that was a problem for them in that game as well. You know, the reason that we saw Tommy Bowden going crazy on the sideline on that kickoff, that's been their one Achilles heel. It's been their kickoff coverage. In that BC game, they gave up 213 yards on 5 kickoff returns, including a 96-yard touchdown. And that, you know, that started the third quarter. The opening kickoff of the third quarter was returned for a touchdown against them, and it ultimately cost them a game.
And that's why Boston College a lot of times had short fields in order to get their scores and didn't have to march 80 yards against this Clemson defense. 3rd and 11. Take a look at the Atlantic Division standings in the Atlantic Coast Conference. Clemson and Boston College started this ball game. Boston College won this afternoon at 3-1. Wake Forest only with 1 loss, and now Maryland, with the upset of NC State, is only 1 loss. And we'll take a look at the Coastal Division in a minute. Chasen is going to kick, and Tyler Evans waits outside his own 35-yard line. Made the first tackle in this and picks up 3 on the return after a punt of 42. There is a marker down on the play, however. Holding call against Clemson. And if you're Georgia Tech, you probably give them a chance to kick it again. She might go for a punt block. And there's Tommy Bowden upset again. It's the kicking game that's bothering him. Ray McElrathby, the redshirt freshman, the young man we've told you about, trying to get downfield to make the tackle. And now they will force Clemson to kick again, sending Chasen back into his own end zone with 3:11 left to go in the ball game.
Talked about this already, what Clemson has left. They play at Virginia Tech on Thursday. That's their last road game, and they'll finish up at home. 3 straight home games. Maryland, North Carolina State, and then the season-ending game against South Carolina.
Well, they have to win the game at Virginia Tech and then hope that somebody else will knock off Boston College. because BC will have the tiebreaker on them. Conceivably, these two teams could end up, as the ball is loose on the kick return, as these two teams could end up playing again in the ACC championship game. Now they're going to say the ball belongs to Georgia Tech. 12-yard return on that after that punt.
We'll take a look at what both those teams have left. BC with games against Buffalo, at Wake Forest. Wake Forest at 6-1. I watched them on tape this week. They're a good football team.
Yes, sir.
And Duke, Maryland, and at Miami on a Thursday night, November 23rd.
Taylor Bennett has checked in a quarterback. Jamal Evans is the new running back, number 20. Bennett, a 6'3" sophomore from St. Louis, thrown only 17 passes this year. Has one start in his career. That's last year when Ball had viral meningitis and beat UConn as a starter. And a tough night for Reggie Ball, nursing a variety of injuries that obviously hampered his performance. And there's the All-American Calvin Johnson, who had never in his career had a game of less than 2 catches. Evans on the carry, and Georgia Tech right now just trying to get the backups a little work as we approach 2 minutes. And they'll be celebrating in Clemson tonight. A huge victory for them, and certainly a dominant performance.
It was a dominant performance. Very impressive on both sides of the ball.
And 83,000 people will file out of here. About 82,000 of them very happy. The first time since 1939 that Clemson has worn all purple. They may do it again. If they wait another 70 years, we won't be here to see it. Georgia Tech 3-1. Miami 2-1. Well, they had to fight to beat Duke today with all those players suspended. Virginia Tech with 2 losses. ACC is obviously down this year a little bit, but Clemson isn't. Clemson is a terrific football team. Georgia Tech and Miami will play each other next week. Let's go to Holly Rowe. Holly?
Well, hey, guys, the seniors voted to wear these all-purple uniforms. They kept it under wraps. It was a huge surprise. When the guys went into the locker room after warm-ups, it was like Christmas. They loved it. The seniors decided that they wanted to come out in all-purple tonight to make history. That's what they told the rest of the team. So far, so good. What do you think?
You know, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. When it works, everybody remembers it. And when it doesn't work, everybody just sort of dismisses it as a bad idea. That's a lot of purple for me.
It's growing on me a little bit. It's kind of like vintage, you know. It's growing on me.
Under 20 seconds to go, and number 12 Clemson has knocked off number 13 Georgia Tech in impressive fashion here in Death Valley. Now the crowd counts it down. It is over. The Clemson Tigers with a huge win over Georgia Tech. Let's go to Holly.
Well, guys, it's the first time in school history 2 bats. One went over 200, the other over 100. Who's Thunder and who's Lightning?
I'm Thunder, he's Lightning. Lightning faster than Thunder. That's the guy right there, baby.
James, you were playing with an injured left shoulder. Why did you keep playing in this game?
I know I got a lot of people back at home, you know, they're expecting me to play. I know I was injured last year with a wrist injury, and I knew, you know, when I come to this game, there was nothing going to hold me back. I knew I had to come with everything I got.
CJ, you came alive in the 3rd and 4th quarter. What was working for you?
The offensive line, first of all, they opened the holes up for me, and I was just able to make a couple guys miss. And Will Proctor on the pass, he had a check down to me. And I was again make a couple guys miss, and I was able to just make a big play for our team.
James helped recruit you. He said you could be a 1-2 punch. Did you believe him, and how's that working?
Yes, ma'am. I believe him the whole time. I believe the coaches when they came and recruited me and said that we can be the 1-2 punch. He's a great running back. I've been learning a whole lot after him, and it's gonna be a fun season for the rest of the year.
All right, congratulations, guys. Thunder and Lightning getting it done tonight.
Thank you.
Holly, some performance by those guys this evening. The final score, Clemson 31, Georgia Tech 7. SportsCenter is coming up next over on ESPN News and Post-Game Extra. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For our producer, Bo Garrett, our director, Scott Johnson, Todd Blackledge, and Holly Rowe, and our entire crew, this is Mike Patrick. Thanks for watching, everybody. Good night from Clemson.